I need someone to tell me what happened for the 5th goal because the cat brought in a mouse and I was too busy trying to run around and get the mouse out of the house. Yeah.
Are you crazy?
No. And they
this
make
is why
this noise.
cats are unacceptable.
They make this noise that goes like, I've got something for you. I don't know how he's. Oh, it's not what my cat sounds like. But yeah, so he made this noise the minute it came to the cat flap, and I thought, it's got something. So I'll go and check. Yeah, he had a mouse. So I did.
How often does that happen?
Or alive?
It's alive. Well, you've got to let him. But the problem, it happens quite often at the moment because it's springtime and we've got loads of fields around here. So yeah. So what? More importantly, what happened with the 5th goal? I didn't see it. I thought, sod's law, they're going to score the minute.
Who scored?
That was Jess Park. That was Jess Park's goal.
Oh, cross.
It was
the cross.
The cutback. Yeah, she came into the box. That was a really bad example from me and Keats, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe I'll just watch it back. Right, let's get on with it, shall we? This is Hipster Pod with Nikita and Jordan, England legends, both of them, WSL legends, both of them. Nikita, I'm going to nickname, I would have taken a hat-trick goal if I had the penalty, Parris. And Jordan, always a perfect hat-trick, Nobbs, left foot, right foot, header. Every week they bring you topics straight from the pitch of this pod, so we discuss the biggest talking points in the world of football, the WSL and beyond. Northern Ireland are playing Switzerland as we're talking, Scotland in Luxembourg. At the time of recording, Scotland are 2 up, Northern Ireland are losing. You don't need me to tell you the results because you'll know them anyway, but that's what's happening as we speak, and the mouse is now dead. That was a moment for the mouse. Right, this week, qualifying flyers. Let's start with England's first competitive game since lifting the Euros trophy. Ends in a 6-1 win over Ukraine, but 0-0 up until half. I just want to talk about the first half, nothing else. How was it for you both? Sum up the game for me. I did watch it, despite the mouse.
You can go first, Keats.
Yeah, I actually thought it was a real professional performance, if I'm being honest. I know everyone will say, but the first half was 0-0, but I felt like England still moved the ball well, still created chances. And ultimately, the rotations in the team higher up helped in the second half open up the gaps that weren't there in the first half. And, you know, when the chances came, the girls took them. And yeah, I felt 6-1 is a comprehensive win and a deserved win, and it's great to, you know, start the campaign off with a win, and that's what the main objective would have been for tonight.
Yeah, I think as well, we all know as footballers that playing against a deep block looks so easy to watch, but it's so hard to break down. And credit to Ukraine, because going in 0-0 at half time, and obviously it's like, you know, do you want to put a bit of pressure on the Lionesses, but you also respect that they've understood the mission,
the assignment,
the assignment, get to half time 0-0. Then you can look at going into the second half. But yeah, I thought it's not easy first half to break down a team that are still quite fresh. They're winning headers, they're winning first and second balls, giving them a little bit of confidence. And then obviously, not talking about second half, but I think that early goal from the Lionesses, that's when you just know if you're a deep block, it's so hard to then get back out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
The moments in that first half, there was one that was probably the moment of the game for me, which was Leah Williamson took the ball. Hannah Hampton was like, all right, pass it to me. And she went, no, I'm going to run around the back of you. And she was smiling a wink. And like she had so much space. They were just playing, as you said, so high, England, that they just didn't need to. Well, even then, the only touch Hannah Hampton could have had, and Leah Williamson was like, no, you're not having it. I'm just going to walk up the pitch with it.
You've got to also play against what's given in front of you as well. Like you saw the fullbacks coming inside, Taylor Hines coming in basically as like a centre mid.
Yeah.
Leah Williamson getting high because it's what the game's allowing them. So yeah, I think they made good decisions in terms of rotations, I think. And then I think when they switched Lauren Hempen, Jess Park, for the second half, that just allowed a bit of different creativity and dribbling inside rather than actually crosses in the box, which Ukraine wanted.
I felt what was the biggest tactical change for me was the fact that in the first half they built with a 3 plus Kira in front of them. In the second half they built still with a 3 but with Poppy Patterson as a as the third centre-half with the other two centre-halves that was in, so Esme Morgan and Lotte Wiebermoy in the second half. So Esme was on the right, Lotte central, and Poppy on the left, which then allowed Kira to push on a little bit more and be that creative head and find the gaps in between. And then there was more secure, so she could rotate. So whether it was Georgia Stanway dropping out wide, whether it was Blinkfield Brown stepping outside of the wide of the three in order to get on the front foot and facing forward. But you always had Kira Walsh, who is very good at turning in the pocket and finding passes, as well as Jess Park, who could more roam, which for me helped for sure the second half be more attacking minded, but also find the spaces to exploit. You know, Ukraine's very deep defensive block. It was so deep.
I'm going to let you go at the second half in just a bit, but take me into the dressing room. Because sometimes you sit as a fan on the sidelines and you're going, oh, it's so obvious, some of these tweaks. Will the coach make them? And clearly she did make the tactical tweaks that made the difference, Serena Wiegmann, going into that second half. But what would she have been like in that dressing room at half time? What would she have been saying?
I felt she would have been saying do more of the same. It wasn't the fact that they wasn't getting in the areas to create, or they wasn't, having opportunities on goal. It was just that Ukraine were fresh and were able to make the blocks. They didn't really step out of their block, so England had to try and find spaces that was very difficult to find. But it still felt like in moments, if the ball was half a yard that way, or Ukraine just got in the first half the blocks in the right moments, and the keeper made some good saves. And she was very front-footed and aggressive, and she came for crosses. And in the second half, you become tired. You have lapses in concentration, and then the finer details it cost you. And the first goal and Jess Park's goal is a prime example of that. You give less half a yard in the box, and she's going to punish you. And it was very, the first goal might have looked easy, but Alessia made it look easy, because as she's rolled with the ball, she's not gone with it. Normally she'd probably take a touch with her right and smash it with her left, but she knew the defender was going to come sliding, so she just took half a yard, took a breath, and was able just to place it with her right. And they're like the finer details that in games like that you can become frustrated, just snatch at every earn. But the girls never. They stayed consistent and they stayed with it, and in the end they got the just reward, 6 goals.
Yeah, Russo with the 2 after half time. Then Ukraine got one back, their sort of first attack of the game. Kalina with the goal for them. Then there was a penalty after a foul on Hemp. Russo gave the ball to Stanway. Triple sub by Ukraine. Stanway Thronker. Jess Park stroke the cat and the mouse for 5-1, and Jess Park to make it 6-1. Those 2 goals from Alessia Russo, Jordan, I don't know what more people could want from her. Her consistency in scoring goals when it's needed. We talk about all the work she does outside, and maybe that's used to throw something at her. Like, you're doing all this, you're not in front of goal. But she gets the quality of the strike to those 2 goals that were so vital for England in that moment.
Yeah, and the best thing about them goals was she's in between the goalposts. Both goals, she's in between the goal. That's where you want her. You want a central. I know that in different games when they open up, Alessia Russo is by far has one of the best first touches in women's football. I think her hold-up play, considering she's probably not the biggest striker that you'd normally say, oh, they're a hold-up player. How she spins with her first touch on the ball is so hard for defenders. And you could tell your defender, look, she's going to do that over and over and over again, and it's still so hard to defend. But I think what was nice was the game didn't need that from Les. She needed to just be in between the goal, and that's where she got her goals from. But yeah, Les is a very talented striker that the Lionesses really, really need.
I think she's just calm too, Keats, in that moment. Like, she'll keep on. She actually was everything that England performance was. I'll just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. Something will come.
Yeah, she's very persistent in her actions, and I think, when you give her half a chance and opportunities on goal, she'll take them. But I think what Jordan said, her biggest role tonight was to occupy that defence. And in the first half, I know it was really frustrating, and she's getting probably kicks, pulls, everything, but that's what the team needed. The team needed to pin that Ukraine, especially the 2 centre-halves, from stepping out, which allowed the 2 10s in the pocket, Blinkfield Brown, and on the opposite side, Georgia Stanway, being in them half spaces to, try and create something. And for sure, she got her goals in between the posts. And, sometimes you just have to be in the right place at the right time.
That Kalinina goal, though, if you're England and it suddenly goes 2-1, you're having a bit of a whee, what's going on here? Or just like head down, go score more, Jordan.
I think for the fans and the neutrals, it was the way they celebrated that goal. It was a nice moment for them. I think what they were saying at the start of the game, the respect shown and the professionalism from both teams and football uniting, that goal was an amazing moment for them. And on the flip side, yeah, I'm sure the Lionesses, they still won't want to concede regardless, a sloppy challenge really, and then a second ball which goes in, even though they had, obviously so much control on the game.
There's then the penalty after the foul on Hemp, and it's like, when there's a TV series and you really want it to end the way you see it in your mind perfectly with the love story and they walk off into the sunset. So Alessia Russo is almost giving you that sunset moment because she picks the ball up and you're thinking, oh, she's going to place the ball and she's a bit. But no, then the evil villain. I'm not calling Georgia Stanway an evil villain, but the sensible head of just let the person that scores the goals always from the penalty spot take it. Stanway takes it. And she's so good in that moment, isn't she? Both of you have sat there and witnessed her take a penalty. She's so good in that moment. Like variety as well on where she takes it.
I think that's the professionalism of the game. Like, it's easy to, give the ball to Les and let her go for the hat-trick. But I think in the context of football and, where the team want to be, who they want to be competing with in what tournaments, at what stages in the tournament, if you have a penalty taker, the penalty taker, if they are still on the pitch, they take the penalty, regardless of, individual performances within the team. And I will say, although before that point, Georgia Stanway didn't score, she was having one hell of a game. She was running that game for fun. The positions that she picked up, the energy that she brought, being offensive, also being defensive, when the ball transitioned over. Although Ukraine never took them opportunities in the counter-attack, she was there, ready to mop up, break up play and restart the attack. So I think it's actually a just reward for Georgia Stanway because her performance deserved the 2 goals that she got. For me, player of the match for sure. And at the end of the day, if it was a semi-final in a World Cup, who would step up to the ball? Georgia Stanway. So why doesn't she deserve to do it at the first leg of a World Cup qualifier, regardless who the opposition is?
Yeah.
I wonder how many she's got. Her stats on taking pens and scoring must be high.
Yeah.
They said on the TV comms that was 100%, but I'm sure I remember one being saved, but I'm sure they did say that was 100%. I will get the dove
100%
from above
in 2026.
Yeah, exactly. I'm done.
That'll do.
And I said she has variety in how she scores. I mean, she does in terms of penalties, but she has 2 ways of scoring a goal, either a penalty or a thronker, like her 4-1 as well. She just got such a sweet shot on her, hasn't she, Jordan?
Yeah, I think midfielders, they need to do that more often. I think especially the way Georgia Stanway plays, when she takes that big touch in front of her, she's got such a powerful strike. You would want her to hit when she gets in them areas. And yeah, there was no stopping that one. But there's sometimes that win you games. You never want to stop someone like that taking that shot because, she's one of the best at hitting a long range strike.
14 from 14 on penalties. So yeah, it was 100%, which is 14 from 14. Sorry, yes, do continue.
Not bad.
But Jordan says there, you want them to be taking those shots off. There was a few times in the first half I just take that.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, I guess. But is it as simple as that? Just take your shot when you've got the opportunity. Just back yourself a bit more.
Well, I think that's one of the things that Serena probably said at half time. because we can't find the positions inside the box to get the half a yard, to get the shot off. Maybe now it's time to go from a little longer distance and not be stupid, but if there's an opportunity, take the strike, and maybe then a Ukraine defender will step out and the gaps will start to appear. But until then, let's take some more shots from distance and test the keeper, especially if they're not going to put any pressure on you from that distance. But I think for sure, Georgia Stanway has proven over the years many times that she can score from outside the box. And I can remember Spain quarter-final in 2022. And everyone's screaming, shoot Georgia, shoot Georgia, shoot Georgia. And she does. And what a strike. But there's been many times that I've been saying, don't shoot Georgia, don't shoot from there, Georgia. So, she's had a lot of practice, I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm going to celebrate like she did for the fourth, because she did actually miss one during a penalty shootout. So that was the one I remembered. But in game, in the 90, she's 14 from 14. Jess Park, so you then look at 2 goals for Russo, 2 goals for Stanway. But Jess Park, her creativity, sometimes she did the air kiss on a ball, but she'd guide the ball in a pass and in a moment in an assist, which is just making the ball do all the work for her. The 5th goal, which I didn't see, and the 6th, which I did see, again from Jess Park, she's been given that freedom that really worked against Ukraine, Jordan.
Yeah, she's just full of confidence, isn't she? I think when you see a player like that taking early shots, that's when they're confident. As soon as she got that first one, you could see she was looking for the next one. She's very good with the ball close to her feet and then getting a shot off. But yeah, I think she deserved a start tonight. I know there's obviously some injuries with the squad right now, but I think that was a good chance with the form that Jess is in to get that chance. And when it comes to tournament football, especially in the wingers, they do get chances, and you want to have a tough pick with your wingers, because I think they can be a really easy game changer for you.
Yeah, Jess Park's in great form. And I think the one thing that's helped Jess is gone from a structured sort of playing style in terms of City. It's very specific in the way, and it's limited in the fact that for her being more free-spirited, then she's gone to Manchester United, and it's definitely a more free-spirited, open way of playing where she can float between positions, but also float between helping the team create overloads in whatever area of the pitch she finds herself in. And that's very different from what the City approach that she found herself in at the time she was playing for City. But you can see that when she has a free roll and she can roam and she can find space and create overloads, she can be very, very effective.
That's improved her England chances then, that move, you think?
I think Jess Park's found herself in the England squad over the last few years. It's almost about consistency of playing, and that.
But the style of play, does it suit better what Serena wants to use her for then?
I think that's opposition dependent, I will say. I think it's very opposition dependent, because you played a system against Ukraine that you wouldn't necessarily play against any of the top 5 teams in the world. Internationally, you was able to allow more players to be in offensive areas and cause overload and cause problems, because you knew Ukraine wasn't going to be effective going the other way. So you can push more numbers forward, you can be more defensive minded, and the rest defence of England in the 3 at the back and maybe a sitter in front of them was able to, dispel any attack and impetus that Ukraine was going to have. It's very different when you play against a Spain, a Germany, a France, all these teams. Not to say that a free roll couldn't work against them teams, but we just haven't seen a player have that yet. In terms of it's more of a structured way of playing. But maybe that's how England move forward. And Georgia Stanway talked previously in interviews about, not changing the mindset, but maybe adapting a little bit in order to be able to win a World Cup, because that's the one trophy the team and Serena hasn't won yet. And you have to do something different or something a little bit different in order to get over the line. So maybe she's experimenting. Would it work? Can it work? We have also all of these players who have different attributes, and how can we find the best way? Whether we start that game plan at the start of the game, or we bring it in later in a game, you know, and that's the greatness of having good players.
Yeah. What do you think, Jordan? Are we seeing an evolution of Serena's team to try and win a World Cup?
You've always got to evolve. I think a good one on a similar point to Keats is she has players that can play in different positions. You know, one time you might need a Lauren James in the 10 role, and another time you might want her as a winger. But I think you have to keep adapting. I mean, we've definitely seen Serena play a lot of different players over the last few months, which, you know, hasn't always been the norm. But I think it's kind of that change of the game now. You know, players retiring. She needs to find out who's her best squad and who's her starting 11. So yeah, it's chances for everyone, and then also it's a bit like what Keith said. She's going to need different players for different games, and I think that's what's key. You know, if you want a good crosser of the ball, you're looking at Chloe Kelly, Beth Mead, really out of the Lionesses, but you've got a totally different side to Lauren Hemp, where you're going, well, she can dribble past most defenders, really. So yeah, I think it's also dependent on who they play, but the choices she has now is good because she's getting the chance to see other players play when they're in form at club as well.
And I think that's key. I think ultimately your national team is a chance to be on the biggest stage in the biggest tournaments. And if you're consistently playing well at your club, week in, week out, WSL, Champions League, whatever the competition may be, you deserve an opportunity. And I think we've seen that over the last few months. Like Jordan said, players get an opportunity, and it's about taking them and being consistent. You know, like being consistent for your club, being consistent for your country. And then the headache is for Serena, which is a good headache to have.
I think the experience as well. Oh, sorry, Caroline, you go.
Now, I never say anything worth saying, so carry on.
No, I was going to say the experience having some younger players as well at that World Cup, what they'll learn by getting, you know, little doses of minutes, but then also being around a tournament environment, you know, because it's highly likely that a few are going to go, you know, probably get selected, might not play too much, but what they'll learn for the future for the Lionesses will be so much and so good for the future as well.
Are you an advocate for that? You think that they should be at least sort of one player that goes that maybe is not going to get those minutes, but it's about the growth for the future?
I think you have to a certain extent. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still want the best. Is it 23 that'll go? Is it left 21? You still want the best players to go, but I think we've seen such a turnover this last year. It's a bit different a few years ago. You kind of had them experienced players that were playing, you know, they were still in form. So of course you're going to have them on the pitch, but there's been that little bit of a change now where the slightly younger ones are now becoming the experienced ones. You know, the Kira Walshers are taking them roles on, and obviously, you know, such a talented player. But I think looking at the squad at the moment, I think you would have some youth on the bench to learn a lot from these players.
Is Poppy Pattinson one of those players that we hear again? One of the other talking points with England. England have got a fullback problem. They've got to try and get some better depth defensively. Made a debut, came on for Taylor Hines. It looked pretty planned at half time. What did you make of your London City Lioness?
Yeah, I felt like strong performance. I mean, England just had so much more attack. Sometimes it's very hard, isn't it, when you're playing a team like Ukraine? Your attacking players are more on the ball. Your job is to feed them players, and that's almost a professionalism of the performance. Is that those players that needed to be on the ball, England made sure was on the ball to create and make something happen. But I think it's a deserved debut. I think she's done well for London City, for the in the WSL, and now is an opportunity to, you know, play for a country, which, you know, is every girl's dream. And that consistency, and you stay consistent, I'm sure she'll continue to get more opportunities.
I think they don't have a problem with not having fullbacks because they've just won 2 back-to-back Euros. I think the problem is what happens if we lose them fullbacks. I think that's the the problem, isn't it? It's they've not had a lot of players that have had consistent game time in them areas, but they've also had, well, Lucy Brand's just an absolute machine. I mean, she just goes and goes and goes. So yeah, it will be something they need to look at, obviously.
I think the one thing you can say about the fullback areas now is that there's players who can play in them positions, like a Jess Carter who can play both sides. Alex Greenwood can play left back and centre half. And it's like, where is those players' best positions? And instead of mixing between two positions, can they have one solid position, and then you're more likely to get a more consistent, higher performance? But I think the girls who have played in them positions over the last few years have done fantastic. Whether it's
Yeah.
their main position or not, they've done the job for England, and, back-to-back Euros, second in the World Cup. It's just about what's next. I mean, we said Lucy can't keep going, but Lucy can keep going. So do you think, girl? You keep thinking, but you've got a Jess Carter, a Maya Letizia who can play there. Then on the other side now you've got Hines, you've got Poppy Basson, you've got Alex Greenwood. You've got players for them positions.
Yeah. And I'd be really intrigued to see how well Lucy can play without a broken bone. Anyway, only the top team goes through automatically. England face Iceland next, but also Spain in the group. Quick word on Iceland before we touch on Wales. Would you change much? Do you think we'll see many changes going into the weekend?
A few, I would reckon.
Yeah, I would still think those players obviously who performed today will more likely get an opportunity again against Iceland. But you almost just need another professional performance, get the points. And I'm sure Serena will try and change as much as she can without disrupting, because it's okay making changes, but you don't want to disrupt the rhythm that you've created. So, but I'm not the manager, it's not my role, so do you think?
One day it may happen. You never know. Come do my five-a-side, if I actually played five-a-side. Quick word on Ukraine. Defeat for them, of course. There's a lovely interview with Nicole Kozlova that makes it a lovely interview, of course. Her story about Ukraine, plays for Glasgow City. Real sad moment again for her tonight. Came off with a bad injury on just 7 minutes. She was so looking forward to testing herself and what she believed this Ukraine side could do. And with her going off with her experience just meant that Ukraine were always up against it from that moment on. So fingers crossed it's not such a bad injury as it looked for Nicole. But you can listen to that full interview that she did, a little chat that we did earlier in the week. That's on the Pitch to Pod feed. Right, Wales, 2-2 it finished, 90+3 they equalised against Czech Republic.
Ooh.
Just a couple of quick touches on this. Hannah Kane scores goals. She got the first for Wales to bring it back to 1-1. Czech Republic took the lead in the 54th minute, and then 90+3 it was Hughes got the equaliser for them. A few things. Jess Fishlock, first game without post her career, but she's on the bench. What will that have done for this Wales side, you two? I mean, you've both spoken to her. We've had her on the show. We know just what she can be as a leader. I'm not putting it solely on her, but that's a spirit moment to come back. That's their toughest opponents, you would say, in this group, to come back and get that equaliser.
Yeah, well, I think for Jess, she's there because she's so important. I think for Wales to come back, people like Jess play a big part in that, whether that's speaking to the players or encouragement on the side of the pitch. I think especially the way the Welsh team have always spoke, they all fight for each other, don't they? We talk about the red wall. They're very passionate and they all fight for each other. So I think to see them faces in and around the team, it is it's an honour to have someone like her there, isn't it? To have that much experience.
Some early reports on this game, though. It sounds like Wales didn't play that great. Kath Morgan, former Wales captain, said afterwards, if we play like that, we don't deserve to win games. So it sounds like that's one we should look back. I wasn't able to watch that at the same time as the England game and chasing a mouse out of the house, but I'm going to watch the Wales game back in just a bit. But some of the other descriptions, Katie Sherwood says match fitness, sharpness has been telling in this game as well. So it sounds like they will feel like they've lost the game while we feel like we have won it. former Wales striker. That's Gwen Harry's talking about that as well. So mixed reviews of the Wales game. But as I said, that's probably one of the toughest matches in their group too. So Wales have high hopes about qualifying as well, getting through to the next stage. Right. Weekend, are you watching it? What are you doing? Going anywhere nice for the holidays?
For the holidays?
Iceland.
Don't know what you think we do.
I know. I think we'll be training, thanks.
Yeah, I'm going stir crazy. I actually contemplated coming to do some training with you this week. I mean, contemplated is such a loose term. I thought, I wonder what they're doing this week. Oh, they're probably training. And that was the end of my contemplation.
You know what
England,
happened today in Newcastle, though?
What?
Today in Newcastle, the sun came out.
It did not.
Oh, yeah.
The
down here
sun
too.
came out. And honestly, 15 minutes after training, we're all still sat outside. And it's like, it was only about 12 degrees. But we were literally all just looking at the sun thinking, hallelujah.
Yeah,
I bet
agree with that.
you favour the bib and just the tracker. Did you have your guns out?
No.
Oh, it wasn't that
No,
warm.
it's not that warm.
No.
It's not.
All right.
Although, in training yesterday, there's like two kinds of people when they see the sun. People who just start stripping and have like, the best and everything on. That's just wild. It's like, it's not even it's below 15 degrees, guys. Chill out. But then there's me who's just like happy that the sun's there, but still got the jumper and everything on, to stay warm. But yeah, the girls were so happy. Well, I was also so happy to see the sun because the weather's been dreadful. I'm so sorry, but seeing rain and cloud every single day, I was thinking, oh, when is this going to change?
Well, that would have been you then in just the bib for Jordan. You'd have been in the shirt, maybe a little bit of Under Armour, and I'd still be in a duvet. That's how much I feel it, tucked up in bed. Right, that's it for this week's Pitch to Pod. Thank you, Jordan and Nikita, for a quick review post-England. I now feel like I know a little bit more about that fifth goal. Do listen to Nicole Kozlova's interview, Glasgow City, Ukraine. Sadly, she got carried off the pitch tonight, but it's just an awe-inspiring moment from her, to hear from her about what she's doing now, what's happened in Ukraine, but also where she sees the country in the future. For a little bit of hope, it's well worth listening to. Still international break, so no WSL this weekend. England, Iceland, Saturday, kick-off 12:30. If you have a question for Nikita or Jordan, get in touch using the hashtag #PitchToPod. Who knows, they could be answering it on this show. I am off to play Tom and indeed Jerry. Which one was Tom and which one was Jerry? Jerry was the mouse.
Jerry was the mouse, yeah. Thomas the mouse.
If you could be a cartoon. Oh, go on.
No, I was going to say a story about mice with Katie's cat. You know, Katie McCabe. She, her cat used to bring in all sorts, like as in mice with like heads chopped off. And there was loads of mouse droppings everywhere. And they were like, what is going on? Katie lifted up her sofa, like went underneath it. There was a mouse that had been living in there. It had been nicking all the cat's food, stored it all in her sofa. No, Katie literally flung the sofa out. And like when she told me that story, I was like,
No.
Yeah,
No.
It was
That
living in a
is
sofa.
gross. Oh my days. I'd have to leave that house. I would have to leave that. No,
It's
around
a
the
cat
couch.
thing though, isn't it?
I'd have to leave that house because there is no way. Oh no. No.
When I was younger, growing up, because there's this smell that a mouse makes, or any animal obviously makes once it's died. The first 2 days you won't smell it, and then you smell it. And I could smell this smell. This is a young kid. We had like chickens and all sorts running around everywhere.
Where did you live?
5th story apart. No.
Chicken, pig, horses, cows. You live in a farm.
There was lots. There was 6 children, right, Nikita? You need somewhere to put us all with all the animals. And anyway, the smell suddenly goes, and I think, oh, whatever it is has died, but it's fine. You're supposed to turn your mattress. I mean, I was a kid, so I didn't turn my mattress. Turn the mattress, and there was this mouse that had obviously crawled in to get away from the cat, and it was like that. But where I'd been lying on it.
Oh no!
Nah.
Oh
No.
you hadn't.
No.
Princess
That's
and the
not
Pea.
okay.
Princess and the Mouse. There you go.
That is
That's why my
horrific.
nickname is 11 Arif. You've been to Tenerife? I've been to 11. Thank you and good night.